Hello, friends, and welcome back to the new episode of r/IDontWorkHereLady. And our first little story is about a crazy Karen who twice mistakes customers for a store employee. Male Karen reported me to the not a manager. I work stupid shifts. There's one 24-hour hardware store in my area. My work uniform is all black. The hardware store has employees in blue aprons for uniforms. Male Karen approaches me in the aisle with screws and fasteners and asks for some power tools while I'm reading a label on something. I look up and tell Male Karen that I don't work here. Male Karen then goes off on a racist tirade that began with, "You people are all the same. Why don't you do your job and help me find this obscure tool whose name I don't recall?" I'd already begun to walk away from this fool and just kind of hustled out of there into another area. Several minutes later, I hear Male Karen ask someone else, also in all black clothing, if that person was a manager. And I look up. That customer didn't even get a word out when Male Karen then pointed a very pointy finger at me and says loudly, "That one there did not help me." Then I hear that customer kindly shout/speak loudly, "Why are you telling me this?" and kind of walk off toward the self-checkout where I was getting ready to do my scans. Male Karen sees me bagging my stuff and very matter-of-factly walks to the self-check cashier to report me and the person he thought was my manager. The cashier says very clearly that I don't work there. Male Karen then asks for a manager. Store manager comes over as I'm walking out with my purchases, and Male Karen points me out. I didn't get everything that was said, but I did hear him try to convince the manager that I worked there. I don't work at the hardware store. Male Karen might still be arguing that I do, though. And our second story. Store manager screwed me for the last time. The cast is me, store manager as SM, HR lady as HL. So I worked for Target for far too long, and by the time I quit, I'd put up with an enormous amount of BS from customers and upper staff. My work schedule was chaotic, and after repeated complaints to HR and SM, I started getting nights. Unfortunately, when you're closing and working the back room, no one tells you any updates happening in the store. I don't like dealing with customers too often, so I choose to work in the stockroom or receiving to lessen that chance. So when suddenly I was scheduled to work on the sales floor and work CS desk, I was confused and really annoyed. I spoke to my department manager and SM only to find out that my job was dissolved and no longer a role. So I quit. I gave my 2 weeks notice, HR walked me through it, and they said they'll call to cash me out and I'll be done. As I said before, the scheduling there was awful, so I received my call from HR and went to pick up my final check on Friday. The store schedule had me down to work Friday and Saturday after the cash-out call. When I go to pick up my check, the SM yells at me for not being in uniform for my shift. I told him I'm only here for my check. He disregards that and claims I was paid for that Friday and Saturday shift, so I'm obligated to work it. Me being a fool, apologizes and put on a vest, worked that Friday shift. At the end of the night, SM writes me up and wants me in tomorrow on time. So now it's Saturday. I show up in uniform, and HL lady looks confused and asks me why I'm there. I tell her what happened the night before. She says, "No, we already wrote you the check. You just had to pick it up. SM can't write up someone who isn't working here anymore." So HL takes me to the customer service desk to give me cash for that last shift, and SM is there. He begins by listing off all the things he wants me to do. I reply, "No, I don't work here. Wasn't supposed to work last night either." This is confirmed by HL, so his response is, "Well, you're already here and in uniform, and the online orders are really backed up, so do me a favor." I said, "Sure thing," took my cash from HL and walked out. Very rarely do we see someone have to tell management that they don't work there. And our third story. Today, I gave a manager a heart attack. So it was a Saturday evening when I got a call asking me and a friend for help. I'd finished my college work and had nothing better to do, so I said sure. A large company had rented out a high-class spa and lounge resort for a large employee appreciation banquet. The thing, though, was that this particular lodge was in the woods, and to help keep a rustic vibe going, they kept the parking lot stretching and winding through the trees. My volunteer job was to drive a golf cart and pick up the employees and drive them to the lodge. My friend and I had our own golf carts, and we were having fun zipping through the trees, picking up people, and generally having a good time when she showed up, the manager of the lodge. It wasn't too bad at first. We just had to deal with her snarky attitude, know your place, maggot vibe. But as time went on, she got worse and worse as she tried to supervise us. Eventually, we were done and headed on into the lodge to join the banquet, and for some reason, she followed us, talking constantly, saying some pretty rude things offhand, thinking we were just some boys temporarily hired by the company. When we started going into the banquet hall, she stopped us and asked with a bewildered tone, "Wait, where are you going? The staff room is this way." She said it in such a condescending tone, I was about to snap, but then the head of the HR department of the company that booked the lodge came over. Seeing her, the manager straightened up and put on a respectful smile on her face, while my friend just waved while I went and hugged the head of HR. She was my mom. As she escorted my friend and me to the VIP table, I stopped, walking by the manager who had an aghast face on, surely regretting her previous comments. I asked, "What was that you were saying about the staff room?" The fact that she instantly changed her attitude the moment she realized you weren't hired help says so much about this lady. And our next story. Move the frack out of my goddamn parking spot. I was working a new post as a security officer in a large 8-story annex building with banks, suites, etc. My main duties are pretty much to exist in the building and to tell everyone leaving to have a nice evening. My official role states that I'm to maintain an atmosphere of calm and safety. Easy enough. I pull into one of the 2 reserved parking spots at the front of the parking garage, grab my stuff, and walk in to start my second shift. Everyone is super nice, smiling and wishing me a good night, when in walks your stereotypical 65-year-old white guy, aka Angry Man. Angry Man. "Hi, sir. I paid thousands of dollars for this parking spot outside, and someone just parked in it." Me. Customer service mode activated. "I can understand how frustrating that can be, sir. I'm actually security for the building. I don't really have anything to do with the public parking garage. The main office is actually directly across the street. I'm sure they could help you." "Okay, well, I'm calling to have this car towed." Me. Right. Well, I'll come with you and get the info and make a report while you do that." We walk outside. Me. "Is it the white Escapade?" AM. "What? No, that's my car. It's the GD Black Tucson that's in my spot." Pointed to the black Tucson in the space right next to it, which is actually my car. Me. "Huh? That's my car." "Your car? Move your GD car out of my space." The dude's eyes started bulging out of his head and turning red. It was like something straight out of a cartoon. At this point, I still didn't fully comprehend the situation. Wait, if that's your car parked right there, then I don't understand the problem. You are currently in your reserved space, right? One of the spaces is reserved for the active officer on duty. "Do you know who the F you're talking to?" I visibly cringed from his garlic-drenched breath. "You will get in your GD piece of crap car and move." Sir, you need to calm down. One of these spots is reserved for the active officer on duty, which is me. If you have a problem with your reserved space, call the number for the public parking garage. I'm security for the building and have nothing to do with public parking. I will not abandon my post, risking my job as well as everyone's safety so you can park inches from where you are currently parked now. I start walking back towards my post with this dude following me, literally throwing a temper tantrum. There's a lot more back and forth with me remaining completely stoic and repeating the same, "Sorry, I can't help you, you need to leave" line, and him slamming his fist down on my desk and cussing me out, demanding me to move my effing car, so help me God. I don't give a crap, park on the effing street, I don't need these F words in my spot. He kept asking for my name and the manager's number, throwing his business cards at me to write on. I eventually gave in and gave him my first name and the number for HR just to get him out of there. Good luck getting a hold of them, buddy. Even if he did get a hold of them, he's essentially just telling them that I'm actually doing my job, so I really don't care. I did get my super obviously sarcastic, snarky, "Have a wonderful day," in, to which he scoffed and replied, "Effing F-word." Very satisfying. I started video recording halfway through the altercation and snapped a pic of his plate numbers just in case. After my shift, when I went back out to my car, he'd even left another one of his business cards under my windshield wiper. WTF? What is wrong with this guy? It took me half of the conversation until I could comprehend that this guy was actually screaming and cussing me out because he had to park in the space directly next to the one he usually parks in. Like literally inches away, which was actually closer to the building. Like, am I dreaming? Is this really happening right now? I love reading stories on this sub, but I was assuming most of them were embellished and exaggerated for entertainment, as I'd never experienced something so ridiculous in all my years of customer service until now. I've now experienced firsthand the potential horribleness of the general public. I'm now making it a point to park in that parking space whenever available and remain nice, bubbly, and friendly if confronted again. Everyone in that building is so over-the-top nice, I don't know why this one guy is so messed up. I'm actually looking forward to my next shift there. I'd love to see this dude escorted out in handcuffs. Edit. I realize I wasn't entirely clear about the parking spot situation. The reserved parking spaces are just 2 parking spaces right next to each other that say reserved. There are no numbers or letters like A or 1 to differentiate them. Both Angry Man and my security company pay for 24-hour access to one of the 2 spaces. Even if I was in the wrong, I could still not have left my post to move the vehicle. It would be grounds for instant termination. And if an emergency were to occur in my absence, I would be held personally reliable for any damage or injuries that could occur. Appeasing a narcissistic old man verbally assaulting me is not worth risking the safety of others as well as my job, which I love and appreciate very much. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video to the end, and I'll see you in the next one.